What's up, everyone? It's your host, Jen, and we're here to spill the tea and throw some shade. Let's get into it. Well, hello, everyone. We have Victoria James here from The Branding Experience.
Hi.
So Victoria is here on International Women's Day, and I feel like this is so suiting for her to be here.
We're going to celebrate some stuff today.
Yeah, and we're going to learn a lot more about Victoria and things that women can relate to, including myself. So I've known Victoria for, 3 years now?
I'd say so.
Yeah. 2-3 years now. And Victoria has been working with us as our branding photographer, but she has so many other roles that I've learned very recently as well.
Just a couple.
And a lot more about like your personal life as well, yes. Which is also very interesting.
Which is where the real stuff comes in.
So Victoria's a professional creative from The Branding Experience. She supports and empowers women to unbecome societal norms and expectations and to remind women to show the fuck up for themselves, their business, and their lives. She is a professional photographer specializing in corporate branding and has also branched out in her services in social media marketing, branding, and business strategizing. So welcome, Victoria, to the stage.
So good to be here.
There's a lot that's gone on this year. How old is The Branding Experience?
So that started around COVID. I don't know if you remember, everything shut down. The world shut down. So, I think a lot of businesses were forced to pivot the direction their business was taking. And, I focused a lot on weddings, lifestyle photography. With COVID, I learned that I was able to do branding and corporate work. So at the time, I had a studio partner. We took on a new studio that we put our blood, sweat, and tears in building from the ground up. And I thought, well, now I have to pay rent. So what can I do? And I started focusing on women in business, and it just life-shattering took over in this most amazing way.
What were you doing before The Branding Experience?
A lot of like newborn photography, family stuff that I loved but didn't fuel me. It was really just the side income in my household that, I worked a lot. I'd say I had a decent following. I was making an okay income, but I had a husband who also carried the majority of the bills. So when COVID happened and I focused on branding, I feel like it very quickly took me from this entry-level side gig situation to this full-time, there's potential for an entire business here. So
how did you know there was potential? Like what was it that you were like, okay, this is what I'm doing for the next 10 years minimum of my life?
Honestly, Jen, it came to me. It was one of those things that I believe, like, what's for you will find you. And it timed out with so many other parts of my life in this insanely synchronistic way that it was just like, we're supposed to be here now. And women just started being attracted to me, and they would hire me and they wanted their headshots. And the first thing I would hear from them is, oh, well, you do good headshots. A lot of
you actually do good headshots.
They would say, oh, I like this photo of me because you're dealing with, women's self-confidence, and it's not an easy thing to be in front of camera. And I think, it was just something that I found this passion in. I loved hearing people's stories. I loved hearing where they came from. I quickly got down to the grit of them in a session. And by the end of it, I would see them come in and they were nervous. We would do our shoot. We would chat as women. We would get the final result, and they would leave glowing. From the inside out, just glowing. And I would get messages after messages after the session. You made me feel so good. That was easy. And then, the more you put it out there, the more it attracts. So my business just really took a turn in an awesome way.
And then your energy is so magnetic. I've had the pleasure of working with Victoria with Monaco, our medical spas in the GTA and surrounding area. And Victoria just really cares about her work, and she takes the extra time. Like, I have a package with her and she always ends up editing extra photos because I can't decide between all of them.
I know immediately. I'm like, she's not going to decide. We're just going to give her.
I'm indecisive. I'm like, you pick, because whatever you pick, you can post.
Yes.
But very, very fortunate that we've been able to work with so many different photographers, but working with so many people in the same background, you become pickier, as with any industry. And I am so particular with our corporate branding. I want consistency. I want clear white backgrounds. And when you're working with so many different women and trying to achieve that in different days and different settings, it becomes extremely difficult. And you've been able to achieve that. So like, I can honestly say I totally recommend you.
I have loved working with you guys. I love your branding. I love the crowd, the staff. It's all good. So it's been one of my favorites, I think.
So how do you choose, like, how do you know who's going to be a good client and who's going to be a bad client?
I think so while I've been doing branding a lot more in the last 2 years, I've also been an entrepreneur since 2013. So I just think in that you start to learn from the hop the jobs that you are passionate about and you know you're going to enjoy versus the ones that not so much. So
is there any traits that you would say you would give advice to other budding photographers about, okay, this is not going to be someone you should work with, or this is someone you should?
It is the client who occupies a lot of time but will not book or give a deposit. Those are the ones I would say steer clear from. They want to know everything. They want to plan their work. They want to know exactly where you're going to be shooting. They want to know all of the details. They want the phone consultation. They want to know what they're shopping for. They want to know all that, but they won't follow through with confirming the booking. And those are the ones that I find end up being challenging to work with.
Okay. So yeah, just knowing that there's a lack of investment
Yes.
or seriousness, because you probably get a lot of maybe new businesses that maybe aren't ready to commit to a professional photographer.
Right. And there is a difference, I think, between somebody starting out in a field versus somebody who does come with experience. I tell my clients, I'm not the cheapest. I'm not the most expensive, but I'm not the cheapest. And you don't want the cheapest, right? When you're renovating your home, you don't want the cheapest quote you're going to get. That turns over in its work.
That's fair. Absolutely. Now, if you are a client looking for a corporate branding photographer or photographer to work with your special events, is there any tips you can give us about how to find the right photographer?
The first thing is know your style. And I think one of the reasons why you and I and Monaco clicked so well is because my style works well with your style. I shoot very high key. I love those bright whites, the cleanliness of an image, the sharpness of an image. I get inquiries from people who ask me to shoot dark and moody. That's a trend right now. That's a thing. That's not my thing. So you have to know what you're looking for and inquire with the photographer that offers the style that best represents your brand.
It's a little bit of both. Now, you mentioned you do newborns but I know that you're working with our business. So what is your specialty, or what areas of expertise are you with photography, would you say?
Definitely in the branding world. Only because it's expanded my business now into, like you said in the beginning, I do a lot of social media management, business strategy, full-on brand guides for clients. So what happened was I was shooting all these women who own businesses, and they would get their gallery and say, okay, Victoria, now what do I do with these photos? And I would say, well, you need to post content. You have to tell your audience what you do, where you come from, how you help them, what service do they need that you provide.
Exactly. Just setting the expectations of what your role is, and there needs to be work on their end to continue that.
And they didn't know what to do. So I said, well, I got you. Pay me monthly.
There we go. And there's her plug.
It really is, though. It really happened like that. And now I'd say the social media side of things is a big part of what I do. It's what I do. I'd say my 9 to 5.
So you moved from a studio with your business partner. Are you still with your partner?
I'm not. No, I have my own space.
I've had partners before. Yes. And, some have been great. Others a bit more challenging with the separation, because I like to equate it to a divorce, kind of.
Similar, yeah.
How has your experience been, like, going out on your own?
Great in many ways. I think her and I aligned at the most perfect time in our life. She is a very well-known boudoir photographer, and I love her work. I think we created the studio, and, we, at the time, again, I was getting into branding, and we both said, let's work with women. We wanted our place to be like this cool girlfriend loft that people would come. we would empower them. We would serve champagne. It didn't matter if it was my client or hers. We just wanted that experience. And if anything came from that, we had that. The women that walked through our doors in that studio was just hundreds and hundreds. And I loved what we created. It just, because it took a turn to my needs and my clients, I needed a different visual space to work with, and it worked perfectly for her. What we, made there in terms of the actual square footage of the place was more geared towards her work. So, we tried to approach the subject and we just couldn't make that work anymore of kind of getting what I need and what she needed. So at the time I was going through my divorce and I thought, I didn't go through all this in life to still be kind of second fiddle to somebody else. And that's not a her thing. That's completely just where I was at in my headspace, where I'm just in such an empowerment and independence phase of my life of just like, you know what, let's do this from start to finish. So
that's amazing. So it motivated you because you were going through a personal separation.
Big time.
That the business, it was like the kickstart of what you needed to branch off on your own.
Right. It was like, you know what, I've already done all the hard things. Why am I still not getting what I need here? So I pulled the plug, and me being impulsive did it over a weekend.
And how did she respond?
It was good. I think by the time, when it doesn't matter if it's a relationship or a friendship, they say, when a woman's done, they're done. Yeah. So by the time I approached it with her, it was, you know what, I'm walking away. You can have all of this. And I walked away.
And you just left everything there? You left that nice chair hammock there?
I lost a lot.
I'm going back to her. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it's not a positive situation for me, but it really was just that I was just like, I couldn't handle having to deal with that and going through the divorce number 2, we'll call it.
Yeah, divorce number 2.
Right? I mean, it really does come down to, well, you have physical, tangible items that you need to sell, figure out value to, pay. And it was just this messy situation that, I don't want to call it messy, but yeah, I was just done. I just was ready I'll buy everything new. I was already doing that anyways with my home life. So I just thought we're going here now. Wow. Just for the sake of feeling that relief.
And how do you feel now?
I feel the relief.
Yeah.
I feel the relief.
Did you ever feel like you couldn't do it on your own?
All the time. Oh my gosh, that's a reoccurring fear. And every single time I feel that, the universe gifts me something. Yeah. It'll just be like, oh, you're scared? Okay, bitch. Well, here's a great job, or here's a fabulous inquiry. You just have to lock this down. Here is, a large paying luxury client that's going to fall in your lap and it's going to take care of you for a few months. It's that situation of just, I've learned to almost in this reassuring way, I don't even stress anymore. The
universe aligns the way it should.
Always. Every single time. The amount.
Good or bad.
Really? The only time I've learned now to kind of trust the gut, because if it feels icky, it's going to be icky. I'm going to simplify that in the most dumbest way possible.
Speaking of icky, let's talk about divorce number 2.
Ew.
So tell me about this man.
Which one? My ex or
oh
my
my
new
God.
guy?
Oh, okay. Well, there's going to be 2 parts to this. Okay?
Yeah. Which man am I telling you about?
So let's talk about your divorce. Okay. Why did you guys break up?
We were together for a very long time, 17 years. So I met him. Wow. Yeah. So I met him when I had just turned 19. I always joked that he was a one-night stand that just never left.
You were like, I can't get enough of this.
It was just, we definitely had a connection off the hop. We lived together within 3 months, and we lived together for 17 years. We had babies. We did the thing that we thought you were supposed to do. You get married, you buy a house, you raise your kids, you get a dog. He works a very respectable career as, he's a heavy equipment mechanic, but he does really well, and he's really good at what he does. And he's a good man. Like, he's the man that you want to raise your babies with.
But why leave that?
I think many things happened over the course of the years that just pivoted the entire relationship. You know, our daughter was special needs, and I think is she's doing much better now. We've done all the work, and she's really progressed in a way that we were told she would never do. So as parents, we're just insanely proud. But there were many years that we couldn't get sitters. Nobody could really know how to help us. So we lacked date nights. We didn't get those weekends away. It just became this roommate situation. And we did life together really well. You know, on Saturday, we would do the garden. We had our, you know, we had our very clear domestic roles. And I think what happened was I was so young when I got into this. And then it just changed where all of a sudden I was like, but where am I? Where am I in all of this? I'm playing a role, and I felt like I was playing house. And, you know, by the time a relationship or a marriage ends, there's a lot of conversations leading up to that.
Did you guys ever have that discussion where it's like, well, you never told me this before, but now we're at the point where it's like, it's over. Like, it's just, let's end it.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part was getting to that point where you have to admit that, because for years, you know, we would step in and out of that conversation, and it would just be, you know, hey, we're not good. What are we going to do? And then you'd say, all right, well, let's try a date night. And date night never happened. And, you know, I would get to a point as a woman where, listen, I'm an alpha. Okay.
I can tell.
I'm an alpha. So if you're not
an alpha,
if you're not making me submit to you, I'm going to run all over you.
It's true. What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Okay. I'm with a Gemini.
Yeah.
So we get along.
Yeah. So I'm just...
You're kind of bipolar too, aren't you? Because that's what Geminis are. It's like the scale, you know.
I'm attacked right now, Jen.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah, like, because I'm such a strong personality that I was like, I'm not planning this date because I do this, this, and this. And even though I can see it now looking back, well, you also were doing that, and that. At the time, it was like, why do I also have to plan a date? I want to be the woman, and I want to feel taken care of in this way, in a way that's not just supporting your wife at home. I wanted to feel beautiful, and I wanted to feel lusted after. And I think that's such a part of femininity that if it's not given, you kind of just collapse inward. That's me anyways. Some women are fulfilled by doing the mom thing. That was not me.
Some women actually don't care if they're like lusted after, because they're just not like in that horny situation.
I need that. I need that so bad in life to feel like me. Yeah. Like, I need to be craved.
Oh my God.
Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hope you get what I'm talking about.
No, absolutely. I'm just thinking about your big beefy boyfriend in the comment you made earlier, so I'm dying to hear about him. But I know what you mean, where you just... I think I hear about it a lot because I see and speak with a lot of women, in that you want someone who has drive and ambition, and that it even includes like being lusted after, like taking initiative. I think is something that we often feel we lack in the relationships we're with, especially with men. And I don't know if it's a complacency in relationships, just on general, on both male and female sides. Do you ever feel like you lacked initiative in the relationship?
I think there just came a point where I checked out of it, where I was almost disassociating from my own life, where even now I think back and it's odd, and I know so much growth has happened in the last couple of years, but I'm just like, I don't relate to that human anymore. I think my views on so much has changed. They haven't changed on marriage. I still think that's such a beautiful thing. I just think you need to work at it. And I can admit fault where I think I knew I was done because I no longer wanted to work on it. And we kind of just let it die. I think there's the common patterns that go to when a relationship breaks down.
Exactly. There's a common pattern where you feel like you're a roommate. But did you guys, how long before you ended the relationship did you stop having sex completely?
I don't know if that's a good question for me, because
you're always
I'm alpha.
Oh yeah, it's true. I'll just jump on you and force you.
Yeah. Like, I can still have that part
Can you separate the two and enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because some women can't.
Which is funny because I can't now in my relationship, so I feel like I'm in love. That's very much like the more we connect, the more I want it. And if I feel kind of a loss of connection, I'm like, hey, dude, I need some more attention. And he's very much the same with me. But in my last relationship, it became very much just okay, I need it and you're here. Let's just get it done. But it ended there.
Did you ever think that like if you lose that connection with that person, like say was your ex, maybe not your ex specifically, but do you think for women in general, you can just work at it to bring back that spark again where you have that connection and you want it? Or is it kind of like a chemistry thing? Like where it is or it's not?
I think for me, it just came from the fact that I changed and grew so much. And I just think what I needed was so obviously different from what I had. And I can't even explain because we tried all the things. Let's go to the sex shop.
You worked at the love shop.
So I sold. Nice. No, I worked for the manufacturer.
Oh, so you get like free dildos.
Yeah, it was a crazy job. That was a crazy job.
Let me try them out. Quality assurance.
Yeah, and so you do all this stuff. And it's not that our sex life was bad. I just think so much other stuff had broken down that's the first thing you kind of tend to feel it. And I knew I was done when I no longer could even kind of push through for the sake of getting it done for the team. You know, does that make sense? I think a lot of women can relate to that. It becomes this thing that you're like, oh, it's been 4 days. I know he's going to come knocking.
Absolutely. You mentioned when you separated from your business partner, you also simultaneously separated from divorce number 2 with your ex. Yeah. But now motivating you to get out of your personal relationship with your ex, when did you meet Big Beefy Boyfriend? I'm calling him that because that's what you...
This story honestly just sounds so bad any way I put it. So I
knew it. This is juicy questions. I like it.
It's one of those that... So he actually jokes because I was his first crush in grade 2. So I've known him forever. I haven't known him. There were definitely many gaps in our life story where he did his thing, I did my thing. We weren't friends. I'm not going to say we were. And then recently, like we would always follow each other on social media, and he was in a situation and I was in a situation, but it was kind of like the second we could look at each other in that way, it was like, oh, there you are. And I didn't want to get into relationship.
Of course, relationships happen when you don't want them.
I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm literally just trying to be like in my hoe phase. Aww. Like finally I get a hoe phase, and then this man locked it the fuck down. But your hoe
phase was like always.
No, but you just wanted to be like, let me just see what I can do. Let's just go out there and just see what we can do.
And you guys instantly connected.
Yes. You can tell I'm annoyed by it because it really was that we were like, let's just fucking see what happens. And then it was really good. I think our first weekend we spent together, we did it like 9 or 10 times. And
did your vagina hurt?
Yeah, it was so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we were like, what is happening? He's like, this doesn't happen. And I'm like, no, this doesn't happen. And then it got to a point I'm like, well, like, I don't know if I want you like seeing anyone else. And and he was like, yeah, like you're mine. That's it. And then I'm like, so are we like in a relationship? And he's like, I think so. And he's like, are you sure you want to be in a relationship right now? Because I was still going through like
the separation. Yeah.
The separation takes a long time. It's the moves and the like sorting things out, and there's the legalities to it, and there's the house sale, and there's the move. Like it is just, not to mention the kids involved.
Absolutely.
But it really became obvious that it was like, you're so prominent in my life and this connection is so undeniable that we're just like, well, what do? We have to do it. And it's been like a year and a half now. And we're still...
A year and a half you guys are together.
Yeah, and we're still going really good. So I don't suggest doing that. But at the same time, he helped me get through it in so many ways. You lose a lot of people through the process. It's gross.
Do you guys have a lot of mutual friends, you and your ex?
Well... Oh yeah.
Like, is that what you mean when you say you lose a lot of people?
Yeah, you lose, you have your friend groups and they pick sides.
It's true. They can't like choose, or they just disassociate from the whole situation because it's awkward.
And I don't want to say I was the one that called the final straw on the marriage. Actually, I think he was the one that brought up the conversation, just like, hey, what are we doing? He was in the basement for a very, very long time.
He alphaed it that time.
Yeah. And so he said, you know, what are we doing? And I was like, well, I don't know if I'm ready for you to come back to bed. Like that feels, I had the ick, I think. And not towards him physically or anything. Like that's not a disrespect to him. It was just, we were so distant at that point that the more we lived separately within our home, the more I started to come into myself. And so it was hard to really bring it back, if that made sense. So I said, well, I don't know if I want you back in the bed. He had to set up downstairs. Like he had moved out of the closet.
Yeah,
like he was down there.
He was already down there. Now, does he have a girlfriend?
He does now.
How does that make you feel?
I thought, honestly, to be honest, I was worried. I was like, oh, I'm going to be that bitch that moved on real quick. And I don't want to say moved on. It was, in a lot of ways, it was harder to try to be happy in a new relationship, but then also grieving the last one.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how I would take it for him, but it made me truly happy. I want him to be happy. I do.
That's great.
And the kids love her, and I've never met her. I don't think I ever will. There's a disconnect there.
Is that going to be awkward if you did meet her?
No, I would love to. Listen,
does she not like you? Is she jealous?
No, I don't. I think it's more him, to be honest. I don't know what his reasoning is, but he prefers to keep me at a very far distance. I still do the thing. Hey, I'm going to have the kids call you. You know, I still do the role of, I mention him if I say, you know, to the kids, oh, mommy's proud of you. No, it's mommy and daddy are proud of you. Like there's things that I do day to day that I still feel a certain way. I think maybe he feels a little bit different. I don't know what his mentality is there. I think that's one of the hardest things realizing is you have to let go. You no longer have access to their emotional stress. You know, I think
exactly
as women, one of the things we want to do is like, I always want to fix you. What ails you, my friend?
So do you think over the years, your perception of yourself on camera has changed for the better or worse?
I think you just, especially doing what I do, I get to know my angles. So I can post a dope selfie. Nudes, got it in the bag.
I love it. Oh my God, can you teach me how to do nudes?
Tell me to talk on camera. It's the end of the world. So I think it's just you learn where and when you feel your best. And I think women just need to know when to like optimize on that. But at the end of the day, you just have to bring it out in yourself.
How do you deal with like a photo going up and let's just say like the person doesn't take it down, like, and it's so shitty, or it's like a video and you look like you have a fucking double chin and your guts hanging out and like your pit hair is showing or something. Like, how do you cope with that if you know it can't go down? Like,
well, Jen, I'd cry in the shower.
Okay. Is that usually works? I'm like, okay, we're going to go cry in the shower now because I'm posting this podcast and then the YouTube.
I'll just have a good cry in the shower and move on with my life. But yeah, I think for somebody that really does struggle with that, not just, oh, I hate that photo of myself. It becomes this deep rooted, like I'm embarrassed to exist. Like that's not just like a me thing. I think for
it goes deeper.
A lot of women that experience that, it turns into all these other feelings that get triggered, and where that comes from, probably childhood. Who knows? I think everything.
I think everything stems from our childhood.
As a mother, it is terrifying to know that anything you say or do can cause a long-term reaction.
I know.
I think it doesn't matter what kind of childhood you have. It's how the child at the time is feeling. It's the circumstances around that. It is, you know, and I just think we all bring our stuff into adulthood and it's our job to work on that. And so, yeah, I don't love seeing terrible photos of myself. It's also just, okay, lady, you're in business, like shut the fuck up, and it's going out there and that's just what you look like. And I've been okay in life and nothing bad has happened. So I think
it's a good way to look at it.
Right? Women just need to know that. We just need to own ourselves. And like you just said earlier, that people don't see you how you see yourself.
Do you think it gets easier the more bad photos are posted of yourself?
Almost, you know, I should have a workshop.
You should do an Instagram where it's like all shit photos of yourself.
We should do like a workshop where we just call women in and be like, you know what, just look the ugliest. And it's almost like that what's the word I'm looking for? Like exposure therapy, where it's just
That's
like,
a good way to do it.
Right?
Because I feel like, for me anyways,
You're beautiful.
no, like I'll show you some ugly photos, but like,
I don't believe
like
you.
lashes off, makeup off, like not wearing like normal clothes. But I think it's because I'm so used to, like, over the 10 years, because social media has been such a primary form of advertising and marketing, that I stopped, like, you kind of get dull to the idea of, oh, I look bad, but, like, you know, you've done like 50 shots. You're like, okay, I'm tired of seeing my face, so it doesn't matter if it looks bad or good.
Exactly.
So then you just kind of get used to it. So I thought maybe exposure therapy, like you said, would be something that would help.
Maybe we're onto something.
Yeah, you should do a workshop
Let's
on
just
that.
get all these women in one room together, and we'll just be like, "You're not ugly. It's just a bad photo."
And really bad lighting.
Terrible
lighting makes people look worse.
We're gonna walk around while they're eating and take photos of them and make them
love
look
it.
at it after, and just be like, "No, you're still pretty." And
You're
then
actually still attractive.
And then we'll take bomb photos of them after. So
I'll be
they
like,
can
you
see.
could use, under eye filler though.
Yeah.
Be like, no.
And you know what? It's like with every single aspect of life, there's that polarity to it, where with everything good, there is some bad stuff. And learning to live and really just dive into it is enjoying the good stuff, but also holding space for the shit parts, right? Like, yeah, we can take a bad photo, or we can have those bad months where we're not sure where business is coming from, or we can have the bad relationships, but then there's this other really good one that may be around the corner. It's just kind of learning how to redirect yourself and just dive into all sides of things.
That would be really cool. Now, something you mentioned, including a workshop, is you take really good nudes. And I actually, like, despite how I'm okay with seeing bad photos and shit of my face, I've actually never really, like, done a lot of nudes.
Okay.
So, like, if I was to take a nude, can you, like, show me what angles would work?
Baby. Yeah, it's all angles.
Okay, so, like, describe to me what's like your signature. Show me your signature angle. Like, not like, you don't have to show me the nude, but like describe it, and then I'll like reenact it.
I feel like I like holding the camera slightly higher.
Okay. Okay, let's just pretend.
It enhances this area.
Okay.
But because it's kind of hitting from the side, it makes the waist look smaller.
Okay.
And then you can maybe like pop the hip a little bit. So then you get that nice side curve, right?
I feel like this is when you direct like normal like corporate shoots. You use your nude poses.
The rules apply. I think you just need to know a woman's body and what men like.
So naked, completely naked, you would do it?
I'll do a little bit of everything.
Okay. So
sometimes he'll make requests. And then I'll work with that.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's a hot thing. Yeah, I recommend it.
So if we were to describe this to our listeners, your right arm would hold the phone slightly above, and then you show your tits.
Yeah.
And then suck in your stomach, but then pop your hip.
Pop a little bit of a hip. So you
towards the camera, kind of. You get that silhouette.
You know what? I think women think that men love really thin girls. I think men love a good curve.
Thank God I'm pregnant then, because I got some curves now. I got like an abdomen. That's my curve. But I agree with you.
It's curve in the other way.
I was like, curves on women are feminine. I think just like embrace your natural body and what it's meant to be.
And I think sometimes wearing a little something is hot. We don't need to go fully nude, but you know, like maybe a little white t-shirt, and you kind of like pull it down a little bit for a little nip to show. Or
did you learn this from your partner? All these like
I don't know. I enjoy doing it, and I think it's fun. So my new guy and I, we don't live together, so we have that opportunity to kind of like send
each other.
Yeah, and I love that part of things, because then when we see each other, it's like it's built up over like the day or something, and it's fun, and it makes me feel feminine and sexy to know that he's like at work or something, and just if you work with him, I'm sorry.
What's his requests like for nudes? Or like, what kind of photos do guys want to see?
I think that depends his mood. He'll be like, put on the thing I like, and he'll just like that. Or
like what thing?
Like bras or certain just looks. He likes glasses sometimes.
Okay.
For our 1-year anniversary, he took me lingerie shopping. So he like picked out something, and then he brought me like into the change room, and I tried it on for him, and he approved. So then he bought it for me. So sometimes he'll be like, put on the thing I bought you. And I'm like, yes, daddy.
Oh my God, I love it. That's so sexy.
Right?
That's so hot. And you love the submission because you're a natural alpha. So I feel like, okay, I've never met a woman that prefers to be dominant in the bedroom.
Oh,
I know there's women out there, but I've just never met, everyone wants to be submissive as a female.
And I think that's why him and I fuck with each other so much because I'm alpha, I don't want to be dominant.
But is he alpha in real life?
Oh yeah.
And then he's also alpha in the bedroom.
Yeah. And so like when he can take the lead with me and kind of like put me in my place, but also he's so fucking sweet with me. But like he knows like,
but yeah,
sit down. Okay. Like you're being a little, like, you know, you're being a little crazy right now.
I love if it's like coworkers are like listening to this.
I'm sorry. But I mean, he'll just be like, you're being a little like irrational, maybe like take 5 minutes and I'll come talk to you. Or he'll be like, what's going on? And he's very emotionally aware and he does just understand my brain better than me sometimes. So I'm like, okay. But I love that. But because he lets me feel submissive to him in day-to-day life, like that does transfer to the bedroom. And then I get to do what I do and get to be my feminine self and flirt with him and try to like seduce him all day with nudes because I'm not so worried about running the show in, you know, well, I'm running the show in my household. I still run a household, but I get to kind of disassociate from that part and just be in my femininity and who's Victoria. Well, absolutely. I want to seduce my boyfriend.
So like, if you have a kink, how do you tell your partner what you're into and how, like, I know everyone's relationship is different. It's comfort level, it's chemistry, but you guys got like into it pretty quickly because you're just like that. I just know you are.
And I know.
I love you. And I'm the same.
We talk about everything.
Yeah.
And that's like the best thing.
Do you talk about sex as much with your friends, like girlfriends? Or is it kind of like weird because like, I don't know if you're close to anyone.
I'm not like quiet about it. I think this is probably the most I've talked about it.
Oh my God, I love this. I feel so honored that you can tell me about your nudes and your like kinky shit.
You and everybody.
I was like, and everybody else will be honored to hear.
I think I'm being okay. I don't think I'm giving away too much of our actual inside scoop. But yeah, I think like the best thing for that part of us is that we're so open about things.
That's great. You have the communication where it's like, whatever.
It's very much just like, you know, did you jerk off today? Like,
nice.
Yeah. Or like, did you? I'm like, yeah, I did. Like, we just,
that's amazing.
I mean, that's a very similar thing, but, or not a similar silly thing to kind of put it to. No, but I think we just are so open about our sexuality and who we are because that's a big part of both of us.
And I think it should be really open about that because that's that one intimate thing that you share with each other, but you should be able to embrace that each other can like self-pleasure.
Yeah, exactly.
You really should. Yeah.
And I'm like,
and I was so ashamed of that.
And that turns me on. So,
and I'm sure it turns him on. Right. Like he's like, great.
Yeah. Like she's
so sexually like empowered,
right? And it's
like
just
fueled.
It's a thing. It's just like it turns me on and it turns him on, and it's just I think that's like a very healthy aspect of a relationship. For me, it's just like once that's gone, it's hard. Once the attraction's gone and the want for that. So I'm loving it again.
This is amazing. And do you think that like as you've matured, because you're still very young, that you are more open about your sexuality?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do they say that women really come into themselves in their
like
40s and 50s?
And you're not even 40.
I haven't even scratched the surface.
Yeah. You're like, I'm still learning and exploring and stuff. So I know a lot of women can feel like ashamed or uncomfortable with talking about sex or not even knowing what turns them on or looking at your vagina and being like, it looks weird. Right. So
they don't. And, you know, that could just come down to not having a safe space to do that. I think when you're in a long relationship, it becomes awkward to bring that stuff up.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I'm not a sex therapist, so I can't even pretend to.
As I'm drilling you with sex questions, I'm so sorry.
I love it. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh, shit.
So, Jen.
Okay, no, I have one more. I have another question for you. Okay, so you are very sexually open.
Yeah.
Clearly your partner is.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of bringing a third person in?
No.
Like a threesome? And would you do that? And why or why not?
So my conversation has always been, if it wasn't him, I would be in an open relationship, because at this point in my life, I'm good. Like, I don't need someone. I fucking love this man. Like, he's mine and I am his. And I'm like, bitch, you ain't touching nobody. Good. Like, it is such a, I'll call it a healthy territorial.
That's thing, great. You know, you care.
Yeah. I'm not saying that would never happen, but that would be on him, and it won't be another female. I can promise you that.
What about another male?
That's intense.
Oh my God. So she's open to it.
He's a secure man. So
he'd probably be fine with it.
That's on him. I'm not bringing that up. I am completely good with what I have.